Getting up in the morning is much more pleasant when the taste and aromas of the first meal are as inviting as the breakfast we are preparing. Shalom, and welcome to my kitchen. I'm Eenie Frost, and I was thinking about something that's very beautiful in Jewish life, a marriage contract. And a little later in the show, I'm going to show you some very beautiful ketubot, some very beautiful marriage contracts. In fact, I had the opportunity of sitting with an artist who actually makes them. He does the Hebrew calligraphy and designs them. And I said to him, when do you have the time to sit down with the bride and the groom to talk together about making something like this? And he said, Eenie, it does take a great deal of time, and we try to get together whenever we can, morning, noon, or night. Morning? Well, I said, maybe you would have them for breakfast. He said, it's possible. And I thought, you know, we really have never made breakfast. Why not? All of us have such busy schedules and we're all running so fast. Why not serve a breakfast to your friends or your guests or your family? Something that would be easy, that would be made ahead, a one bowl kind of a thing that would be completely prepared. Well, I think it would be a cinch. So I tried to put together a menu that would be very easy and delicious. And I think anybody's home that you might go into for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, you would probably find some herring. It might be chopped herring or pickled herring or fried herring or herring with apples or herring with pineapple or herring with green onions cut up. But this one is a little different. I'm going to call it Russian herring. And of course you know that if it's going to be Russian, what is going to be in it? The basic food of Russia, potatoes and beets. But where did I get this? I have to tell you a story. You know, it's like Grandma Mabel. Before she gives you a gift, she always says, now I have to tell you why I bought this gift. I thought about this and I thought about that. So I have to tell you why and how I got this recipe. Our Machatanim, these are these wonderful people. And it could be either your son's wife's parents, in this case happens to be our daughter's husband's parents, are very, very active in helping Soviet Jews get out of Russia and come to live in any country of their choice. This is something that all of us are involved in, but they very, very actively. And it just so happened that there is a couple who did get out of Russia and came to the United States. And of course, when they come to a city, where do they go? They go to the synagogue. And that was where they met. So naturally, Gertrude and Paul invited them for dinner, and when we came, they said that they were going to make the appetizer. Well, as soon as I saw it, I said, this is for us. Well, since they don't speak English and we don't speak Russian, I could not get the exact recipe, and I hope that this is close enough, but I think this is the way she prepared it, and it really is delicious. Now, first of all, take a 12-ounce jar of herring in wine sauce. And we'll put about a half of it on the bottom of our plate. And of course, this is the plate we're going to serve on. So there is no need to use all kinds of extra plates and dishes. Then we're going to take 2 onions and slice them up and put a half of the onions on. You see, we're mounding it kind of around a circle. And then we're going to top that, of course, with the potatoes. And that is a mainstay of their life. So I have cooked 2 potatoes, sliced them, and always cut them in bite-sized pieces because you want your guests to be comfortable when they pick up something to eat that you're serving, that it isn't uncomfortable for them to eat, especially if they're going to be standing up and eating it. But this is a lovely, lovely appetizer to serve. So here we have the potatoes. Then we're going to cover that with the remainder of the herring and just spread that right over. It spreads very easily and very nicely. And then we will spread the rest of our onions. Now I see in one case, always be sure that the onions are divided into rings. Just plop them down a little bit so that you'll be sure that they're set that way. Now we will add the rest of our potatoes so that it mounds up very nicely. And we're going to top that with a mixture of mayonnaise. Here I have mayonnaise that is mixed with, I think we should soften it up. And with herring, we will very, very often use vinegar. So I have a half a cup of mayonnaise, and I'm going to add to that about 2 tablespoons of vinegar. Mix that up and pour that just across the top, because that's going to really set this together. And if it's Russian, you know that we're going to absolutely have to put some meats on it, because that's one of the special things you're going to find over there. So take your beets and put them on the top, spread it all the way around. And when you go to serve it, you'll see how very, very nice this is going to look, because the redness of the beets are what you're really going to see when you serve it. And I think that this is really going to be a special thing. Make it the night before so that it has a chance to set. And then you'll have the opportunity of seeing how nice it's really going to look. After it sets all night, you'll see that it'll come in like this. So this will be a much better way for it to show, and it's very simple to serve it.
For a copy of Eenie's recipes, send a self-addressed stamped envelope to Eenie's Kitchen in care of WJUF, 1 South Franklin Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60606. That's Eenie's Kitchen, WJUF, 1 South Franklin Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60606. Please include the show number with your recipe request.
Now, what would be an appropriate thing to make for breakfast? Well, I spoke to my children, and all at once they said, French toast, of course, Mom. Well, when you make French toast at home, it's a little bit complicated. It takes a little long, right? Because you take the one saucepan and make one piece of toast, turn it over, take it out. Why not make it the night before and have it all ready? It really is very simple. So I thought, let's experiment with it and see how we can do it. And of course, we're going to start out with our favorite 9x13 pan. This is the best pan. And instead of spraying it, I really think if it's French toast, we should use butter in the bottom. I think that is really the better way to go. So about 2 tablespoons of butter melted. And the best bread to use for French toast all the time is challah. And your bread really could be a day old. It's better if it is. And of course, if you buy your challah for Friday night for the Shabbat, then by Saturday night, it'll be just about a day old and will be perfect. So slice it a little on the thick side, as you noticed I have done, a little on the thick side. And then we're going to put them right in, turn them over, and I think you should be able to get 2. Set them so that you can get 2 slices. If you slice it real thick, and I was going to show you that when we buy our challah, we always buy it unsliced, because when we say our prayer, we always do it unsliced. And then we break bread together. So here we have our nice thick challah. Use a good knife, otherwise you're going to have a big mess. We have 6 slices of challah. And in fact, I thought if I really took another piece and sliced it in half, I could almost get it in. Look at this. And then you can just kind of squeeze it in at the end, and I think it would work out all right. Just kind of put it down at the bottom, and you'll see when it cooks, it'll be all right. Now, for our topping, we're going to take 8 eggs. I'll put this on the side here for one moment while we beat up our eggs, because you know we must always check our eggs very carefully for kashrut. We will put them separately into a bowl. I started to crack them. I have 5 in already. So we will just check them carefully. Here's 6. And check them for blood, because if there is any blood in the egg, that would mean that there was some life starting, and it would not be allowable under the laws of kashrut. So here we have 8 eggs. And I think perhaps the best way to beat these up is with our nice electric beater. This goes very easily and very softly. Just start them for a moment. Now we're going to add 3 cups of milk to our egg batter. And of course, we have to give this a little flavor. So here I have a tablespoon of vanilla. That will give it a nice flavor. And in a case like this, I think we have to add a little sugar. I have a 1/4 of a cup of sugar, and I have a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, which is optional if you're not used to salt, but I think with eggs, it almost needs a little salt. Now look at how simple this is. Just take your batter and pour it right over your toast. And put this in the refrigerator overnight. The next morning when you get up, turn on your oven to a 350, and this will bake in about 35 or 40 minutes. Before you put it in, just when you're ready to put it into the oven, take a little butter, just a couple of chunks of butter, and put it on the top. Here, I just have 4 chunks of butter that I'm just going to set here on the top. And then put this in to a 350 oven, about 35 or 40 minutes. And when it comes out, you're going to see how nice and fluffy it really is. Here, we'll take the one out that we have already cooked for you. Pull it out carefully. This is heavy, so if you use our oven pull, it really makes it better, easier, and you won't burn your hand. This is very hot, so let me put it on a holder here. Here. And see how nice this looks? Now, when you go to serve this, you can use different toppings. I'll tell you Jack's favorite right away. What Jack does is first he puts on some nice jelly. That's one of his very favorites. And then over the jelly, he puts the syrup. So you can try it any way you like. But here's the syrup, or if you like honey, or if you happen to like my favorite, which is just a mixture of cinnamon and sugar. And just put this right on and serve it. And look at what how nice this looks. I hope that you'll try this, because I think this overnight French toast is a sensation and really very easy to prepare. Now, I was trying to think what would be nice with the French toast to serve. Well, you don't want bread or rolls. You certainly have enough of that, so we have to think of something else. And the first thing that came to my mind, of course, was fresh is best. What would be something that would be nice and fresh, a nice fresh salad that would really be interesting and, I think, a little different? How about starting out with apples? They're always a good idea to start out with apples. So here we have 4 cups, 4 or 5 apples if they're small. Cut up, core them, and slice them. But do not take off the peelings. You know, cooks, the peelings really have the nutrients in it. There's no need to take that off. And now we're going to add to that a cup of grapes. Isn't it wonderful? Grapes used to be seasonal. Not anymore. You can get them all year round. And the marvelous thing is that they don't have any seeds in them. So you can even allow the children to pump them in their mouth, and they're just absolutely fine. And to give it a little crunchiness, how about a cup of celery? And here's a big surprise, a cup of peanuts. This is really going to knock you out. I think you're really going to enjoy this one because it is very special. Now then, we're going to make a super dressing to go with this. And I think that dressing is something you are really going to enjoy. Look at this. We're going to take a half a cup of peanut butter and put it in a bowl. But we have to soften it down because this is a little too thick. So let's use some wonderful fruit juices with it. Here I have a half a cup of pineapple grapefruit juice. Oh, that's going to give it a nice flavor. We'll just soften that down a little bit with our hand beater so that it mixes in. Then I have a half a cup of orange juice. That always goes well, because I know you're worried that we're not getting our orange juice in at this breakfast, but don't worry, we're going to have it here, and we're going to have it with our dessert. And to make it a little tart, here is 1/4 of a cup of lemon juice. And that, of course, is going to really hit the flavoring, especially with our apples and celery. And I think it needs a little sugar. It needs about 3 tablespoons of sugar. And again, optional, half a teaspoon of salt. So add that in and see how nice this dressing comes out. Just take the dressing and mix it right into your peanut salad. Here we have some that's already done, and you can see how nice and creamy the dressing is. We'll mix it right through. And I think you're really going to enjoy this and feel it's a little different with your French toast. A peanut salad to go with your French toast.
For a copy of Enie's recipes, send a self-addressed stamped envelope to Enie's Kitchen in care of WJUF, 1 South Franklin Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60606. That's Enie's Kitchen, WJUF, 1 South Franklin Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60606. Please include the show number with your recipe request.
What is always a perfect ending to a breakfast? Compote, of course. Wherever we have been in the country, when the folks used to go to Florida in the winter and we would go down there, the first thing the children would do would be to run to the refrigerator and say, "Oh, Grandma Mabel, do you have compote that you made?" It's kind of a standby that you keep in the refrigerator all the time and just keep refilling it or making it. And I've decided that it's kind of geographic. It depends on where you live in the country, what you put into your compote. Northerners use mainly apricots and prunes. But as you might go into Florida, you would find grapefruit and oranges. And as you go west, again, you would find more seasonal fruits. Well, in Palm Springs, do you know what they add? Figs, those wonderful California figs. They really are marvelous. And they're very low in cholesterol, and they're very nutritious. And I thought that for the compote, it would be better to cut them up. And I find the best thing to use, really, is a scissors. So just take your regular scissors for vegetables. Oh, Jack goes crazy with me. He tells me the scissors absolutely does not work. I said, you're right, it's not for paper, Jack. This is only for my vegetables. So that's one way I know I'm not going to lose it. But it's wonderful on the vegetables. Just take it and cut up your figs, I think into about 3 or 4 pieces is just fine. And so into our pot, when we start our compote going, and this is really going to be delicious. Here I have 10 ounces of apricots, and I did cut these in half. You can buy them either bulk or in the nutrition store, wherever you buy your apricots. They're delicious. These are California. And here I have 12 ounces of prunes. And these I like to leave whole, because I think everybody who comes for a bowl always kinds of looks and says, oh, I want a whole apricot, a whole prune. There you are, the Floman. And here we have 12 ounces of the California figs that are really delicious. And as I told you before, I promised you you're going to have your orange juice with this breakfast. So here we're going to cook it in 3 cups of orange juice. And that, again, is going to give it a very, very nice flavor. And you'll have to cook this down. Oh, it'll take about 20 minutes to a half an hour on about a medium fire to let this cook down until it's nice and soft. And then, of course, let's add to it something else that's going to come right from California, a nice orange rind. And, oh, I still use the old-fashioned, this is my grandmother Alva Sholom's grater, and I think it still works the best because you just want to take the top of it. Never get the lower part of it because that is bitter. You just want to take it right off of the top. So add some of your nice rind to it. After this cooks down, then add the rind. And also, I've taken 2 oranges, peeled them, cut them into segments. And after this is cooked down, then add the oranges in. Here we have 2 oranges. And at the very end, to really make it good, here I have a half a cup of slivered almonds. And they are really wonderful because I think that makes it a little dressy and a little special. When you go into the refrigerator and take out your compote, you want to be sure that you have all of the good things in them. So this will cook down, and you can keep this for a long time in the refrigerator. And here's how it's going to look when you have it all put together. And you can see how delicious this looks, and it will stay in the refrigerator for a very, very long time. As I told you before, I want to show you some very, very beautiful ketubot. Ketubah, the singular, means marriage contract, a Jewish marriage contract. And you think this is something new that was just invented? No, not really. This is going back many, many generations. And actually, originally, and still today, what the ketubah says is it gives the responsibilities of the groom to the bride, what he will do for her. In fact, there is something new that has been added. I must show you this one. This belongs to our children, to Elise and Ira when they were married. They had this made up, and they went to an artist who talked to them about what they thought was special to them. And Elise said, you know, I remember this prayer, a tree of life to those who hold fast to it. And I think that that was very special because Ira and Elise said something to us and to her parents that really made us feel good. They said one of the reasons they chose a tree was that they wanted to sign their names at the roots, and they wanted to build a family and a home for themselves that would be similar to the families in which they were raised. And of course, we felt that was a compliment to us. So down here you will see where they have signed it, and in this particular one, they have written something very beautiful to each other. She says, Ira, right here. She says something very beautiful to him, and here to Elise. And down at the bottom, I don't know whether you can really see that too clearly, but they have signed it, and the 2 witnesses. Now this one is done on paper. They are sometimes done on other types of paper. And I want to show you a very beautiful book. This book is all about ketubot. Look at the way this is set. It tells a story about ketubot all over the world over the last many, many centuries. In fact, I have to show you this one. Remember we talked about a geniza. A geniza is something where holy papers or holy books would be placed. When you have something that is a prayer book or something with the name of God, you do not destroy it and throw it out. It's given to the rabbi and then is buried in what is called a geniza. And this one was found in the famous geniza of Cairo, Egypt. And the dating on it is about 1125. So you see they were written then, before you went down to City Hall for your civil wedding ceremony. Well, they had Jewish marriage contracts where the man made a pledge to the woman as to what they would do for each other and what he will do for her. In the modern ones, they even explain that the man says that he would give her a Jewish divorce if such a thing were to happen, if they were to be divorced, because it is not allowed for a woman to remarry unless she has a Jewish divorce. So many of the attorneys, I know Jack always does that too, asks for that in a marriage contract, and it is written in modern ketubas. So you see, this is one from a very long time ago. Now, I thought what was interesting, you can see my markers. I always keep my old Rosh Hashanah cards and use them for markers in my recipe books and everything else. Now, this one is from Italy. And the way you can always tell the Italian is that they come to a point at the bottom. And you see the very beautiful roses. The roses are set into a beautiful shape. You will always find this in the Italian type. Now, this one, of course, is from Israel, well, Palestine. And you can see the palm trees. And you see how beautiful that is. Now, I had the wonderful opportunity of being with Leonard Birnbaum, who has been a Hebrew calligrapher for many years, but now is known all over the United States for his magnificent ketubas that he designs and writes. This is not signed yet, not framed, because it's not signed yet. The wedding has not taken place. The witnesses will sign here. And what I loved about this is that Leonard said, see these two dogs? They met walking their dogs. Isn't that marvelous? And now when Leonard does it, you can see that he does a very beautiful painting on the top. This is all watercolor painting, and right over here, this is all in Aramaic. It's done on parchment, and you will not see any letters that are extended here. He has worked out the signature and the timing and the spacing of every single letter. This is not signed by the bride and groom. This is only signed by the witnesses. This goes along more with the Orthodox feeling of how a ketubah should be written and should be signed. And all of his are done in different shapes. You see the very beautiful shape here, and when this is framed, this is really going to be gorgeous. Now, this one is framed already because, of course, they are married, and as you can see, the witnesses have signed it. There's also something very interesting on the date. He might say to them, when are you going to be married? And they'll say, June 20th. But what time? Because in Hebrew, the date might be tomorrow, because we go by a solar lunar calendar. So the Hebrew date may be different, depending on the time of day or night that they're going to be married. Next time you go to visit a Jewish museum someplace, go and look at some of the very beautiful ketubot. They tell a marvelous story about our people. And as Leonard said, he loves sitting with the bride and groom and talking to them. And perhaps it's a breakfast that he meets them. Maybe it's a breakfast over Russian herring and peanut salad and French toast, ending up with a marvelous compote. I hope so, and I hope that you will try it one time. This is a wonderful breakfast, and I hope that you've been interested in hearing something about something very special to our people, a treasure, the ketubot, a marvelous gift to a bride and groom, a treasure where they will remember for all of their lives.